And welcome to a mess. I don't know what else to call it at this point. This video is a process video of about 4 to 5 months of a project that I decided to make for myself. It was originally intended as a tutorial, but the more elements I kept adding to the piece, the more I realized this is not going to be easy to turn into a tutorial. Although, if you would like to try this, you are more than welcome. Tag me if you do. Yeah, so let's just hop right into it, shall we? So here is what I did to start. I took all my measurements against my body, and then I wrote down all of these measurements, and then I tried to divide them as equally as I possibly could. And I also wrote down pockets, and I still haven't figured out the sleeve, but I'll get there when I get there. Then I wrote down measurements for each of the panels up here. That way I wouldn't have to keep guessing what they were. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make a gauge swatch. With this hook, my gauge ended up being 8 stitches by 9 rows. I ended up using yarns of different weights, so this gauge wasn't consistent for everything, but I just made sure that I was chaining across the amount of inches I needed and making enough rows for the length for each panel that I needed. So let's say I'm making a 4" by 5.5" panel as one of the back panels. So since we already know how much to chain based off of our gauge swatch, we can just go ahead and chain that same amount of stitches. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this is looking a little bit shorter, and as we can see, it is a little bit shorter, so just adjust as needed. And usually this chain will stretch out, so I like to measure it by stretching it out a little bit. Okay, great. So then we're going to turn our chain. Focus, please. There we go. We're going to turn our chain from the front. Instead of working into the side loops, we're going to turn it and work into the back bumps right here. If you can see that. Yeah, there we go. So skip this bump, and then in this back chain, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, and single crochet. Next chain, oops. Crochet into each bump to the end. Just feel out those bumps. You can use your fingers to help you, but it is really up to you. Do whatever helps you. I like to use my fingers to feel out these back bumps, especially since this yarn splits pretty easily. Alright, so here's our first row. Nice. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn. Great. So since we're going to be stuffing our puffer jacket with stuffing, you can make these single crochets even tighter by doing a yarn under instead. Now I'll show you the difference. Yarn over, you toss it over the hook. Yarn under, you loop it under and then over the hook. Pull through, and as you can see, when you yarn under again, it is super secure. Now your gauge will be a little bit different if you yarn under, but adjust your gauge as needed. The reason why I'm doing a yarn over is because I am going to be lining each of these squares with scrap fabric. I figured I'd add a little sewing element into this puff jacket because I have a lot of scraps that I have yet to use, so I figured that now is the time. So I'm going to keep going until I have about 5.5 inches. Once I get to 4 inches, I usually like to measure how much I need, how much more I need, and then work off of there. All right, so here's the end of our row 2, yarn over, chain 1, and then turn away from the hook. Beautiful. Insert your hook into the second space and from the hook, and then single crochet into each space. It's as easy as that. Here's one of our back panels that we made. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 rows of single crochet and 1 half double crochet row to get it to 5.5 inches and about 4 inches across. This can be a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger depending on what you want, because the next thing we're going to do after we finish all of these panels is, well, I'm going to line all of them, and then we're going to single crochet into the side to seam them closed, and then slip stitch all the panels together. Yeah, so I ended up making 16 of these panels for the front and then 16 more for the back. That way I can stuff them and sew them all together. Here are all of my back panels. I actually made these too big, so I'm going to be frogging one row. And I decided that I wanted all of the same colors in like a diagonal sort of thing, so it can just have a little bit of variety. And then here's my 2 front panels. I still need to finish the top 2 pieces right here, but this is what I have so far. I'm not sure what color I want those 2 to be yet. All of these pieces are the back panels for the 2 front panels, and these are all of the backings for the entire back panel. This in total is 32 squares. This is going to be 12 squares. And then here are my, oh gosh, the contrast, sorry. Here are my 2 side panels. This again is going to be 12 rectangles. So in total, you're going to have this many rectangles if you make this exactly like mine. So this is just the body. I have not worked the sleeve yet, but we'll get there. So even I'm not short enough for this. Years and years and years ago, I started out as a sewist, and I still have the first ball gown I ever sewed, which I really don't know what to do with that, but that's a story for another time. But I still have a bunch of scrap fabric that I haven't touched for at least 5 years, so I figured now is the time to use it. I noticed for some of the fibers there were more gaps compared to other fibers, so I wanted to make sure that none of the stuffing comes out, so I'm going to be sewing lining onto all of these squares. I guess you could call this like faux interfacing. I don't know what I'm doing. Come join me. Oh, gosh, it's just never sitting up straight. Okay. So the original plot of the movie was that we were going to Originally, we were going to sew like a lining on the outer side of the back panel and on the inner side of the front panel, but of course it wouldn't go through the sewing machine, and I should have known that because I've tried sewing with thicker fabrics before and it did not work because my sewing machine is like 20 years older than I am. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with the lining. I'm probably just going to cut a square and then cover it and like hand sew it later. That's a later problem. And the second part of the original plot of the movie was that we were going to single crochet through both layers in order to seam up the inside, but it makes it wider than 4 inches, and I need exactly 4 inches in order to make this like fit my shoulders. And you might be thinking, Sky, why didn't you just slip stitch through both layers? And the thing is, I could have done that, right? But I wanted to like whip stitch through the chains of the single crochets, but now it's not going to be that easy. So I decided to scrap that whole idea, and now this is no longer a tutorial, and now it's a lifestyle vlog, so my apologies. We're going to sew everything by hand by doing back stitches and whip stitches, which is not that much of a chore for me because I actually really love hand sewing. So I'm going to backstitch on 3 sides of the rectangle, stuff it, try not to overstuff it, and then backstitch through the top and then knot it to tie it off. I don't know what else to say. This was really supposed to be a tutorial and I was super excited, but the yarn hasn't fallen apart yet. Like, I wouldn't say that I've failed at this project yet. I've just like Tokyo drifted into a different course. Alright, let's get to sewing. Now you get to watch the ups and downs of how life works and how making tutorials actually goes about, because it's not really a linear process. You try one thing and it doesn't work, and then you realize that it's not going to turn out the way you want it to, and you know what? Not everything has to be a pattern, and that's fine. I'm going to make 15 more of these. Have fun sewing with me. Okay, so it's been 17 hours since I last checked in on y'all. And here's my back panel. I actually really love it. There's a few holes and the sewing did take forever as expected, but it was a very nice process. It's very easy on my hands, and plus it's exactly the length that I want. But this needs to get sewn in, and I don't think I want to deal with it until after I'm done with the rest of the panels. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to like lie down in this jacket. I'm very excited. Happy day, I don't know. You lose track of time when you've just been working on the same project for over a week. Yesterday I got my driver's license, so I did not make any progress at all, but I did bring a knitting whip with me, so this is that. Oh my gosh, the color shows up so well here. Yeah, this is going to be a winter release, so I'm super excited about that. And today we're going to be starting the sleeves. So basically I'm going to do 4 segments. The bottom segment is going to be folded up and then stuffed and then seamed with single crochets, and then the other segments are going to be built off of that. Not sure how I'm going to add the second layer. I might just add the next layer as I go for the second, third, and fourth tiers of the puffer jacket. Okay, hopefully I'll be done with this by the weekend, and here's some b-roll. Hello. So that was probably 2 seconds for you, but it's been a whole like month since I last touched this project. There was Halloween, and then I had 5 pattern releases, and then I met Jada yesterday. I'm finally getting back to this project, so today I'm planning on cutting out strips of fabric so then I can make like tubes that I can put inside each of the puffs for the sleeves. That way it's lined, quote unquote, which now that I think about it, I should have done this for like all the other puffs that I've already sewn together, but it's fine. I'm going to cut those out and then I'll show you how I did that. Also, this is a different room, so that might be another reason why my creative juices haven't been flowing the way they usually do, but I'm doing what I can. Okay, so I just finished stuffing all of the filling donuts for the sleeves, and I finished all of my scraps. This is like 2 years of scraps, and I can't believe it. I see the bottom of the bag. That is I chained 32 and then I crocheted in single crochet until my panel was 8 inches high. Just double checking that I did my math correctly. And because for the bottom panel, instead of doing 2 sleeves and then sticking one inside the other and then sewing those together, I decided I didn't want to do that. And I ended up taking the bottom and then folding it inside. I'm also so sorry if you can hear my laptop like breathing so heavily right now. Et voila! There is the start of the sleeve. Now, as you can tell, it's huge, but it gets stuffed, and it actually has this nice bell sleeve effect. So to make the inner lining for this jacket sleeve, I actually don't have enough chunky yarn, so what I'm going to do is double strand a bulky weight 5 yarn. That way I get a similar effect to the inner lining that I have for my other sleeve. Basically what I did is I pulled out the middle of the skein and then I used the other end and I'm holding them together. Don't ask me how long that took because it took way too long. So basically you're gonna slip knot this together. I should have single crocheted into the back loop only when I made my foundation chain, but we can still work with a chain like this. This is our slip knot. This bump right here as our front loop, quote unquote. This bump right here where the foundation chain, where we didn't work it, the side we didn't work into the foundation chain, is going to be considered our back loop. And so we're going to double crochet for 5 rows in the back loop only for the first row. So first you're going to take that slip knot, pull up a loop, and then chain 2. 1, yarn over, 2. Great. Then you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that same back loop space. Move my tails out of the way, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops. Okay, great. Yarn over again, find that next back loop space, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops. And you're just going to continue double crocheting all the way around in the back loop only. I'll meet you at the end. This is going to be my last double crochet. The amount of double crochets you have in the round should match what you have on the outside. So to go to the, oh, excuse me, to go to the next row, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, insert your hook into the first double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop through the last loop, and slip stitch. Now before we go and finish the next 3 rows, we're going to make the first row of the outside panel. You can't really see it, but all of these like diagonal bumps right here, that's where we're going to stick our hook. That's going to be our front loop. It would actually be your front loop if you single crocheted into the back loop of your foundation chain, but I decided to choose suffering. So, where is it? Is this one? Yeah, so kind of have to dig it out a little bit. So here's where you're going to insert your hook, but we're not going to insert your hook there just yet. Insert your hook into the next space. Then find this front loop And now you should have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your working yarn. Loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through, front loop only, the next available space, yarn over, and then pull through both loops to single crochet. Got it? Great. We're gonna do that again. Insert your hook into the next space, find the next front loop, yarn over, pull through, front loop, next space. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. Beautiful. And this is the last loop. Don't cut your yarn, just pull a long loop so that it doesn't get unraveled. Then we're going to go back to doing the inner lining now that we've sealed the entire first tier. This is great. What you're going to do next is make 3 more rows, so then you have 4 rows in total of your inner lining, which should equal to 4 inches to complete the inner lining of the second tiers. Chain 2, yarn over, insert your yarn into the same place that you slip stitched. Yarn over, pull that loop through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull that loop through the last 2 loops. Then again, leave a long loop, and then we're going to go back here and we are going to place 1 single crochet in each space around for the next 8 rows. Before we seal this shut, of course, we need to put our filling donut thing. So we are going to actually start with the inner layer first. I usually like to do the first row for the next section before I do the outer row, just because it's easier to work on the inside first before the outside. Okay, chain 2 and then yarn over. Hello, it's the space you're working on. Find that back loop. This is the front loop that we're going to attach the front layer to. Yarn over, insert your hook into the back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, double crochet, yarn over, and then again insert your hook into the back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops to double crochet. And now we're going to start working on the front layer. Insert your hook into the next available space, find that front loop, insert your hook, yarn over, pull that through, yarn over again, single crochet. It is the same concept as last time. I repeated the second tier for the next 2 puffs of the arm that I had to make, and that gave me about the length I wanted. This is what I've done in the past 30 minutes. Inside panel, first 3 rows of the 3rd panel. I'm going to get some water. I'm gonna get some water. Glass is full. Why does the sun set so early? Now I'm finishing up the 4th layer. I'm just inserting my hook. I'm inserting my hook through both layers and single crocheting around the opening to finish off this sleeve. I'm going to keep the yarn attached to the inner lining for now, just because I might use this yarn to attach it to the actual body of the jacket. So let me try these both on for you so I can show you what they look like. I can't get over this. I look like the Michelin Man. As you can see, the sleeves are kind of huge and they're pretty heavy, but I actually really like it. I think it's not what you usually see. There's still a little bit of space in between my actual sweatshirt and the jacket. I want to reinforce the seams from the inside. I have a lot of tails on the inside, so what I'm going to do is go over each seam again. It is 1 in the morning and I ended up hyperfixating and I ended up weaving all of the ends in for the back. Almost all of them at least. You can't really tell on camera, but there were holes in between each of the intersections, and basically double stitching on the inside negated any of those holes, and now it feels much more secure. I'm going to do the same for the front. Oh, I should do it now, shouldn't I? I kind of want a midnight snack. Tomorrow we'll be adding the sleeves and I will show you how to do the bow appliques. Have a good night. Hello! This is a new day and it's raining again, so I feel a lot slower than I did yesterday. I forgot to note yesterday that because I sewed in all my ends for the back, I have all these scraps and I'm going to use that to stuff the panels, the two panels at the side here that I didn't make just because I didn't know how deep the sleeve was going to be. So once I add the sleeve, I'm going to add that panel, then I'm going to stuff it and sew that together. I also want to note that it's really funny that I'm acting like I know what I'm doing. I really don't. That's the fun part about it. That's also why it's taken me 4 months to do this, but anyways. It's now 11 p.m. I actually changed my method of seaming the sleeve like halfway through, so the back is a lot more secure than the front. I'm going to use that same seaming method on this side. So I've decided to add stitch markers around the opening of the armhole, and then I took the measurement of the remainder of the opening and I added to the rectangle I had here and made a back piece. So I'm going to stuff this first and then we're going to start sewing this. In the morning. The base is done. If I were to change anything, I probably would stuff the back a little bit less. Oh, that is so cool. We will get right back to it tomorrow, but even though like my arms are permanently in this position, I really do love it. Good morning, or should I say good afternoon! I didn't end up sleeping until 4, and I think part of the reason why is because of all the sewing that I did yesterday. My fingers were chafing. They feel a lot better now, but I think my body was like, and shut me down. So today I do have a few ends to weave in. I'm gonna show you how to make the bows and how to block, and we're gonna add some ribbing. God, this is like, this just really hits like everything. Hello. We're filming B-roll today. I'm losing sunlight, so let's just go outside. Ta-da! Oh, it looks so cute! I decorated for Christmas! I saved most of my yarn labels. I'm gonna count all of these and tell you about how much yarn I used. So in total, I used 2,700 grams of yarn. That was a little more than half of my stash, and I feel super accomplished because I feel like I've been accumulating so much, and this is quite literally the culmination of everything that I've amassed this year. And I was also able to use all of my scraps. I might weigh it. If I weigh it, I'll put the number right here. In my notes, it says I started designing this on August 29th. So it's been 4 or 5-ish months. And listen, anyone honestly could get this done faster than me because I am probably the slowest crocheter here. I love crochet, but it's not what I picked up first. I'd say this took me maybe a little over 100 hours. I'm sure it's doable and faster for other people. I hope you enjoyed how chaotic these past 4 months have been for me. A huge thank you to everyone in the description whose yarn I was able to use, whether it was gifted or not. And yeah, I will see you all next year. Once again, if you decide to try this for yourself, please tag me at Seams by Sky on all of my socials. What's my outro? If you enjoyed this video, kindly hit the like and subscribe button to join the stitches in our scene, and I will be seeing you next time.